Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's nice to talk to you, Andy.
Yeah, same
Um,
here.
yeah. Andy Vargo. This is what I have sitting here. It says OneDrive stands, and I love the name of this book. I think it's
Thanks.
very cleverly named.
Thanks. That's kind of how all the trips felt. When I was a rideshare driver, it's like you meet somebody for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and maybe even longer sometimes, but then you don't really know. You might know their first name. Usually you do, but that might be all you know about them. And then you never hear from them again. But in that time that you're together, you might have really good rapport. And so I always kind of felt like,
Right.
oh, just kind of left hanging after everything. So
Yeah, I can imagine that. I've
especially,
encountered that a lot where I just meet someone and wow, the rapport is really great. I never see them again
yeah.
because you're not around them long enough to exchange contact information, or there's no reason to.
Right. Yeah, and when you're a social person like we both are, you start to value that connection and then it's like ripped away from you and you just think, "Oh,
Yeah,
well, I guess that was just a 5-minute little thing. I'll have to come to terms with that."
yeah, yeah. I have similar struggles from friends that I made abroad, especially
Oh,
China,
sure.
whom
Yeah.
I can't speak to.
Hmm.
Even their phone numbers, they don't work outside the country, so I can't call
Okay.
them. I
Yeah.
can Facebook them. Some of them, one of them I was Skyping. One of them is on Facebook, but she hasn't
Hmm.
been on for a while. And when she is,
Okay.
she's only ever posted very little.
Okay.
And my other friend, not on Facebook, she used to be on Skype because
Okay.
in China, even though they block a lot of these services,
Hmm.
when at the office they are available
Oh, okay.
because you need Google at the office.
Yeah.
When I worked there, we had access to Google, and in fact, you go to the office, and a lot of them are just playing on Google
Oh.
because they don't have access at home,
Yeah.
and you can get a lot of stuff done at the office that's
Right.
not work related. And
Sure.
yeah, but then they end up working 12, 16 hours a day.
Right, because part of that time is enjoying the freedom of the internet that they have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes
And
sense.
I would think I would enjoy that freedom too, because I didn't need
Hmm.
a VPN when I was at the office.
Yeah.
And I took advantage of the 2 hour siesta they have in China.
Oh,
Every
nice.
every day the office shuts down for 2 hours at lunchtime.
Okay.
And we'll have lunch, and people come back to the office, and the lights go off and people take naps.
Wow, I didn't know they did that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's kind of like, I call it a siesta. It seems
Hmm.
that way to me. I don't
Yeah,
know
sounds like it.
what they call it. Maybe they just call it a nap.
Maybe.
It's not a bad idea. Although for me, I have never been a napper, not even when I was a baby.
Oh,
Ask my
really?
mother about that. I never took a nap.
Like Deborah never slept. Please, Deborah, take a nap. Give mom a break.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey, I'm curious though, Andy. Are you wearing
Mhm.
pants?
I am wearing shorts.
Oh, okay, well that counts. Okay. Well,
So,
well, they could be undershorts.
so if I had to stand up and walk away, it wouldn't be like too revealing or anything. But I, it's a beautiful day outside, and I was running errands and just wearing a t-shirt and shorts. I thought, well, I should put at least a jacket on and look a little more professional for our call. But I didn't bother with the pants.
Yeah, I had on another shirt over this one. It got too warm. I
Oh
had to take
yeah.
it off. So, but in the video, I can't even see my shirt.
Oh yeah. I just see your hairline, but I can't
Well,
tell
I
on.
see my head, which is a little strange because that's not what I saw when I was setting up the shot.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
But
it's always interesting with these videos to find out what it crops, and then when you open it back up on the final version, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was in the picture. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, Andy, you right now, you're doing some, are you doing comedy now at all?
I actually have done a couple virtual events, which is different. And I've had to learn to not rely on that audience feedback, to where you have to just make it more conversational and just practice being a funny person to entertain people, rather than, doing your stand-up set where it's like, okay, this is my memorized line, and boom, boom, here's the punchline, and then you're waiting for the signal for laughter, but it doesn't come through. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's an important part of the experience. So you have to learn how to be entertaining in a different way. So I've done some private events that are entertaining. I've also done some just Facebook lives. Like I've viewed this downtime, everything that I do for my business is speaking, coaching, comedy, and writing. And so everything that I focused on right now during this isolation has been, how can I be a resource to people, whether it's helping them get through whatever they need to get through, or use the time for myself to get more writing done for my next book, or can I just even be entertaining and make people laugh and take their mind off of what's going on. And so I've done a little bit of each, and it is tricky because you can't go sign up to go to a club. I had a show that was supposed to be last week, and I had a show a couple weeks ago that had been canceled, obviously, like everything. And so you have that disappointment and loss, but then how do you not have that ruin your day, when honestly, how many of us have been looking for a break or some downtime?
Yeah.
So if we can get past the stress of the fear of the unknown and just think, I have a day to just be alone and enjoy being present in the moment. If I can do that, maybe I can take advantage of it and get a little fresher and refreshed,
Yeah. Yeah. I was struggling initially. The last Toastmaster meeting that I attended was the last thing I did essentially
Oh,
outside the
sure.
house. So it's been since mid-March, the 12th or something. And the first week was really nice because I didn't really, even though my job hasn't changed, I was still a realtor. I
Yeah.
still could, show a house when my client calls, but it was different just
Yeah.
because, and at this point, the restaurants were still open.
Sure. Yeah.
And but it was starting to feel different for me. And I was already anticipating it. It's not like it snuck up on me. I've been monitoring this thing since November. I used to be in healthcare, and it's big interest for me still.
Sure.
And that first week was really nice. I had energy, and oh yeah, I could do my show from home now.
Right.
But at that point, okay, I knew that my show was dead. My dream was
Oh,
dead.
to go out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I had been planning, it was a lot of work, and it wasn't launched, and now it wouldn't have been able to launch probably before the end of the year. And well, the next week I was depressed or something. I felt horrible, and I didn't know why, because I'm okay being at home. I work at
Right.
home anyway. But that week, it was just a terrible week. And I realized, and also there was that surreal feeling. And this was before the stay home order, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
when
it
the
kind
stay
of
home
fades
order took
slow.
in effect, I was already depressed because I was already jumping ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I knew where it was going, and I always get everything over with quickly. And once I realized, yeah, it's because I thought, why am I upset? I haven't lost anything. There's no real loss. My
Yeah.
husband, he's a loan officer. He's still got a pipeline. I'm a
Right.
realtor. And at that point, nothing had changed in real estate, although if people are staying home and there's a thing, they're not going to be looking or selling
Right.
as much. The biggest thing I lost is the connection, the personal connection. That's how I get clients, is through relationships, and those happen in person. But finally, I realized that my YouTube channel. The next week, I started to have more energy, and I'm just thinking, yeah, I got to do this, and I got to do it now. I got to do it fast
Yeah.
because the wave is going to be gone. And
Right.
then I will have nothing, because if I don't start this when everybody's at home, it's going to get more complicated. And gonna get complicated filming it out on location. Is already, I can't do it. And that's going to be complicated for a few months. No one knows what they're going to be allowed to do or not. And I am just launching my channel. My dream is a little bit, it might happen eventually. For now, I'm just talking to fun, cool people. And yeah.
And like you said, you can spend this time to create the content and have the conversations, and all of that will build up your base and everything for whenever you make that other step. It doesn't mean it's dead forever. Well,
right.
I had a real,
that's the reason why it's not dead forever now.
Yeah. And I had a similar experience that first week or two. You know, when I'm working on my projects, a lot of my time is spent on my own doing marketing and writing, and whether I'm writing the next talk or putting together programs, a lot of that is sitting in a place on a computer. Now, I did a lot of that time in coffee shops as much as I could because I need that atmosphere, and that kind of spurs my creativity. And so that was the big shift for me, was that I still have these same things to do, and technically I could do them anywhere, but I feel stifled being sitting at the kitchen table. So after that first week, I had so many projects that were backlogged that it was actually kind of welcoming to have some events and meetings canceled, to where I was very productive for about a week and a half. I took I have guided journals that are all about picking 3 things you're going to do a day to make tomorrow better. And I had been meaning to get those set up as email subscriptions. So I spent the first week doing that, getting those all set up as email subscriptions so people could order and get a page a day emailed to them, rather than, because it was that thing of, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get books printed, or if someone orders one, how quickly it will get printed and shipped. So it had to be those things that needed to be electronic, that had to happen quickly. So I did that. I also finished my newest guided journal, which is about finding peace in solitude. So it's this one here. It's Your Awkward Life Finds Peace. And so you choose 3 things to do per day in order to bring peace into your life in a time when you're alone, instead of relying on other people. And so that was kind of timely for the situation right now, because a lot of people are in that place. But along with getting that finished and published, I also needed to get it set up electronically, because who knows right now, if anyone orders a book, how long it'll be before they see it. But then I did get to that point where it's like, oh no, I've ran out of projects now. And that's kind of where that depression kicked in, of like, oh, now, what's the point, or when's it going to be over? And I had to take a couple of days off to just kind of step back and be okay with having some downtime and sitting with the feelings before I jump back into the second wave.
Yeah. So are you doing much consulting right now?
Some. I actually have I offered some free consulting opportunities to small businesses in the area, because one of the things that I do really well is just brainstorming how to take advantage of a shift in change. And when I do my coaching, it's all about changing. And I had slowed down a little bit on that the last couple months leading into this, as far as trying to take on new clients, because I was purposefully using that time to get writing done, because I was so close to the end of this book. And now with that book being done and really just being on the editing, doesn't have as much of a demand on my time. And also with people needing help with coaching to deal with change, so most of my coaching is about, on a personal level, my coaching is all about dealing with life changes. And whether that's a career change, I got divorced at 40, I came out of the closet, I lost my job, I changed my career. So all of those things I've had experience with, and I've helped a lot of people through change. And right now we're all in this feeling of change in one way or another, and we don't know how. So there's been a little increase in demand. And so I've started to pick up a little bit more. It's interesting because it's all through virtual, but a lot of what I did before, sometimes they were over the phone anyway. So this is actually, if it was over the phone, sometimes now we're doing them through video calls. So sometimes there's even more of a connection than there was.
Yeah, I think video is so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I used to have, and I don't know why I hadn't loaded in the video call option, I just didn't really have it on there, but when people could schedule an appointment, they could choose a coffee shop around town, or I have a workspace I use, or we could do a phone call, and I just added in the video and put the coffee shops on hold for now. So
Cool. So I'm curious though, there's a lot of coaches these days. We didn't used to have coaches years ago.
Mhm. Right.
And I'm wondering how is it different? In some cases, it sounds like it might be similar to
Mhm.
psychology, like that kind of counseling. And how is it different? Is it
Sure.
somewhat the same?
Well, there are some similarities in that your coach is there to be on your team to help you better your life and to help you be aware of how your mind is thinking. The difference is with a coach is we're not a mental health practitioner, so I'm not licensed to help somebody with their mental health, and that's where a psychologist or a psychiatrist can come in, or even a certified counselor. They've taken specific classes to work on the mental health aspects of your well-being. With a coach, our job is to hold you accountable and help you develop things that are practices in your day that you're going to implement. And a good coach is actually helping you find those answers collaboratively yourself. So it's not me being your boss. And it's even different than like a mentor, where I'm not saying, go do these 3 things this week and report back to me next week. It's me working with you through a conversation about what are the things and the stumbling blocks that you're running into during the course of your goals and your week. So if you're trying to get to a certain place, we dissect why you can't get there. And then the goal is that you're starting to find those roadblocks yourself, so that when you try to implement your next goal, you're not having to call me. I mean, as much as I don't want to lose clients,
Yeah.
it's that you're growing along the way. And then the next week, it's okay, Deborah, how did that work for you last week? Did the things that we tried to do work? And if not, you know, if they did work, then what's the new hurdle that we need to get over? And if you're able to see what you need to do already, then maybe there's something bigger we can focus on. So we're always able to tackle bigger challenges, which equates to you being able to achieve bigger goals. And with so it's part brainstorming together. It's basically we're on a team together, and the goal is to make you win, and my job is to help you be able to win without me, but by me kind of cheering for you along the way.
Like
So
like your kids that you want to move out someday.
right, yeah, it's like I want you to be independent and I'm here to help, but the successful story is that you're able to do it without me and not always having to call me. And and it's what's exciting is when I have clients who we start out trying to get from point A to point B, and pretty soon they don't need me for that anymore, but we're able to move on to opening the doors on their new business or taking their client list to the next level. It's like, well, now that I've gotten this thing taken care of, this is what I've always wanted to do over here, but I could never get to here because I struggled down here. And so we just constantly work our way up that ladder. But so what I was saying is I have different pillars of my business aspects, and each thing that I have on that list, I have things that fit under comedy entertainment. I have things that are writing and speaking, or writing and then speaking and then coaching. And no matter what I have on my to-do list, they all seem just as important because they're important to one of those different things. So what I had to do this last weekend was really take some time, and I actually logged off of interacting with anybody online, and I said I'm checking out for a couple days for my corporate retreat. And sometimes you have to deal with the corporation of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mapped out where I was spending time in each of those categories. And the goal at the end of the week was to find my one most important thing to do for each category. So the most important thing I need to do under writing is finishing my book and getting that launched. The most important thing I need to do under speaking is developing some different virtual situations. Under entertainment, it's rebranding and launching parts of my podcast. And so for each thing, I had a different most important thing. And then what I can do is I can take all those, they're all on Post-it notes on a poster board, and I take those 6 most important things that I had from the categories I had worked out, and I can just take those 6 and then prioritize those and say, okay, right now, my most important thing is to finish my book and get that launched. And then my next most important is going to be from my coaching segment, and that's has to do with virtual workshops and getting those launched online. And so all the other 4 then kind of fade to the background, but I have to kind of go through that process in my head to organize all the thoughts, because otherwise I wake up in the day and my mind just goes to this needs to be done and that needs to be done, and they're all important and they all support my business and my life and all these things. And one of my post-it notes for one of my most important things to do was from the column that I had that was personal, and that was just take more breaks. And so I'm going to finish something and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to go on to my next most important thing and then make sure and take a break, because I forget to do that until I'm burnt out usually.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think that I take too many breaks because half the time I feel like I'm not being productive. Yet, since I haven't been able to go anywhere, now, mind you, I work from home.
Mm-hmm.
The only places I go, I'll show houses or do something real estate related. Typically, unless it's all day looking at houses, it's just a short errand. And I will go to Toastmasters every now and then, a 1-to-1. And at the end of the day or at the end of a meeting, I am exhausted.
Oh, sure.
And now, I mean, one meeting and it's all I'm done for the day. I am so fatigued. But now I have, oh my gosh, the last couple of weeks, it's finally settling down now a bit. But I had so much energy and no real outlet. I mean, going out with people is a good outlet to drain my energy. And without that, just the flood of ideas and thoughts and all that stuff in my head. And I was really almost paralyzed from all the energy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just the amount of energy I have is far greater than the activities that I lost.
Oh, right.
It doesn't make sense how I have so much more energy, how 1 hour, even going to Toastmasters, the Lakewood Club, that's at noon. It's an easy drive on non-trafficked roads, and it's a quiet club. And I come home and I'll still just, the next 2-3 hours, I can't do anything.
No, it's understandable because you're putting a lot of mental energy and focus into it, regardless of the physical aspects.
Yeah. And I think the noise and the general chaos, are you still there? I lost you.
And there you are.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so the energy, I think, that's consumed just by filtering out the noise and the environment might be. I don't know. I can't. I do have ADHD, and the noise, etc., does bother me.
That's a good
most
point.
Of it I filter out without.
Yeah, there probably is a lot of subconscious energy that you're spending to stay present in the moment of whatever and for all of us that we're working on, that we don't realize how much we're exerting. And I do think it's important to really take a break. And I think that in the context of people being home right now, they feel guilty or they don't understand how to take a break because they feel like they're already on vacation or they're on a break because they're not at work or doing the things. But a break means stopping what you're doing currently and doing something different. And so it might mean that you might need
refreshing your brain.
Yeah. So if you're spending a lot of time watching videos and just watching movies and you feel like that is a break, it feels weird to say you're going to stop doing that to give yourself a recess from that. However, if what you've been doing the last several days is watching movies or doing Zoom calls or spending time on social media, if you set a day aside and say, I'm not going to do that today, I'm going to read, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm not going to get online at all, that might be the kind of break that you need to reset your mind, and you're going to come back into those things with a different level of being refreshed and a different focus. And you may even shift your priority to where when you get back online, you might not gobble up everything that's in front of you. You might just spend a few minutes and jump on and off, because that connection is important to keep, especially right now where we don't have in-person connection. But if we've gotten to a point where all day long we're just on social media interacting with people, it's okay to take a break from that and say, you know what, even though this doesn't feel like work, I still need a vacation from the lifestyle that I've created now so that I can be relaxed.
So you're staying home alone, right? You don't have the wife and kids with you?
Right. Yeah. I'm alone. I live in a mother-in-law unit on the that's a standalone house behind another house. So I see the landlord, and he lives up
So
there.
you live in like an ADU.
Yeah. And so I have limited exposure to some other people, but pretty much just on my own, creating my own messes to clean up. And it's like there are the people who can drive each other crazy because they're living with somebody and driving each other crazy in that respect, where you're quarantined with a group, whether it's your significant other or your whole family. And then there's the other side of it where you go stir crazy because you're alone. And I think both of you kind of yearn for a little bit from the other side without too much of it.
Yeah. Well, do you still get to see your kids?
Yeah, I've seen them a couple times. Just depends. They have different schedules with stuff, and my daughter is still in school, and my two of my kids are still in school virtually, so they're really busy with that. And then my other son is a police officer, so he's still out working quite a bit. So.
Okay, so one of your kids is older and one of them is younger.
Yeah, I have. My youngest is 7. I have a 17, a 21, and a 23-year-old.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you don't have to worry about visitation things.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah. It's pretty much just work it out with them when they're available and free. And they're all kind of living adult lives by now, so they're kind of at that point where they're busy enough that I see them when I can, but it's not like I see them 3 days a week or anything.
Just like normal. When they're an adult. Yeah.
Right.
So when I remember one of the first things about you that I remember when I first met you was your table topic introduction of yourself at Toastmasters. And I just thought that was a really clever way to explain it. And I don't know, I think it might be interesting to share that again.
And that's probably where I had shared that I've been happily married for 20 years, and then found out that the whole time I was married, my wife had been sleeping with a gay guy, and it was me. It's one of the lines I use in my stand-up, and the reason why I introduce it that way in stand-up is because in about 10 seconds I can tell people a lot of information about myself. I'm recently got divorced in the last few years. I was married. I have kids. And I'm gay. And so it kind of just opens up a lot of stuff. And honestly, that's what's become the springboard for everything that I'm doing now with my website, awkwardcareer.com. It's all about finding your authenticity. And I tell people all the time, I wasn't okay owning my awkward, which is, I call it own your awkward. I wasn't okay owning my awkward or being okay with myself for the first 40 years of my life. And it took me that long to be okay with being authentic. And that's why I'm just on this mission to help everybody else like understand how important that is, and how much accepting yourself will actually make you more successful. And don't try to be successful in spite of getting over what it is. It's like, you want to learn how to own it. It's like, no, I'm going to make this thing my superpower. And if I'm shy and kind of nervous about getting in front of people, well, that's what they love about me. They love that personality that I bring. So how do I work that shyness into my introduction? Even if it's as simple as saying, I don't want to be here talking to y'all, but I'm willing to put it out there, then they're going to love that vulnerability. And all of a sudden, now they're tied to you in a different way.
Yeah. I think that makes people also feel more connected to you when you share that kind of information. because it's a very vulnerable thing to say.
Yeah, it is. And like for me, it was weird when I first came out. It was weird to get used to the idea. Like to me, it's not critical that everybody knows it because I'm not trying to date everyone. However, it's important that people know it as far as knowing what I have come to terms with and why I now accept myself. And that's why it's important for people to know, because when I first came out of the closet, I didn't want to be identified as the gay coach or the gay speaker, or like, I didn't want that to define every aspect of my life. And it's not out of being embarrassed by it. It's out of, and honestly, there was discomfort with just getting used to stepping out in that way initially, but it's not about it being ashamed of it. It's about, it's only one aspect of my life.
You don't want to be typecast.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And no matter what it is, even if, I'm a father, I don't want that every single thing that I write is about fatherhood. Or I used to sell toilet paper and hand sanitizer for a living. Everything that I write isn't about.
Oh, wow. Too bad you're not doing that now.
I know. I would be well stocked, but I'd be hiding from everybody probably. But it's like, no matter what aspect of your life you have, that's only one side of the picture that certain people see. And in one of the workshops I'm putting together right now, I use the idea of a beach ball. And when you spin the beach ball, you see different colors. And people on this side see completely different colors of you than what people on this side see. And you never show all of your sides to everybody at the same time, or very rarely are there people in our lives who understand the full sphere of our beach ball. And so, but the more colors that we show, the more they get to know us, and then the more close they feel. And they feel like the more I open up to you, I'm giving you a gift by showing that vulnerability, and you are receiving that gift by feeling closer to me. And so it's like your payment of that gift is, being a better friend or a better fan or whatever it is, like that loyalty that we now have together because we've each opened up. And the more I get to know about Deborah, the more you're giving me a gift of yourself, and I can choose to accept it and be like, okay, now I'm more on the Deborah team because I know this about you and I know that about you. And the more I know your whole story, the more I can try to help you be a winning character in your own story.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed talking to you once again.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So many good stories.
A lot of good stories. Yeah. Andy Vargo, coach and former Uber driver and comedian and fellow Toastmaster.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And do you have any parting information that you want to leave?
Sure. Just, for everybody, just stay as sane as you can out there and keep a positive mindset. I'm always happy to connect with people. You can find me on my website, which is awkwardcareer.com, or any social media. It's Andy Vargo or Awkward Career, and I'm easy to find, easy to connect with. I just love helping people make their life better, whatever that means to them. Some people it's one thing and some people's another. So find me, connect, and have fun.
Thank you, Andy. And I can say you've made my life better already. Just because I know you.
Well, thank
just
you.
A brightness in my life. All right, Andy. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'll see you around, probably online at Toastmasters.
Yeah. Thank you, Deborah.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.